Yo, YouTube, how are you guys doing on this beautiful day? Happy New Year's Eve, everybody. I hope you guys have an amazing day and an amazing night with your friends, family, and loved ones. Today we are going with another One Piece World video. We are finishing up our Devil Fruit series today, and we are going to be covering today Logia type Devil Fruit. So buckle up, it's going to be a fun one. Alright, so without further ado guys, let's hop right on into this video. So, Logia is the rarest of the three Devil Fruit types. Those who have eaten a Logia fruit are granted the power to transform their body's composition to a natural element at will, as well as create and control it. The term Logia was first used when Rocky heard about Enel's Devil Fruit abilities in the 𝙲𝚘𝚙𝚢𝚑𝚝 arc. Now, some overview. In addition to enabling the user to generate a near infinite amount of a certain element and control it, the defining power of a Logia is to transform the user's body into that element. This ability serves to distinguish Logia fruits from other types, particularly 𝚲𝚙𝚎𝚑𝚝 type devil fruits that grant the ability to generate substance. The only 𝚲𝚙𝚎𝚑 ability that enables bodily transformation into a substance is 𝙲𝚘𝚙𝚎𝚑𝚃, a fruit noted as a special 𝚲𝚙𝚎. All canon Logia transformations are of elements which are raw and naturally occurring, whereas the 𝙲𝚘𝚙𝚎𝚑𝚃 enables transformation into a man-made substance. Logia elements have come in all four major states of matter: solid, liquid, gas, and plasma, as well as energy. Now, if a Logia user transforms part of their body and that part is struck physically by a normal body part or object, the user's real body does not take any damage. Any effect of the attack on the user's elemental form is superficial and the body can be reformed with no issue. Logia users must consciously activate their transformation and cannot do so automatically, although experienced users are capable of transforming reflexively rather than needing to be fully aware of an attack. There are only a few ways to bypass this transformation and successfully injure a transformed Logia user, with the most common methods being usage of Sea Stone and Armament Hockey. The former renders the Devil Fruit users unable to use their power and will instantly revert a transformed Logia user back to their physical form, while the latter simply reverts the part of the user that it strikes rather than fully canceling out the transformation. Additionally, if a Logia user's element can be overwhelmed or cancelled out with a different element, that element can harm their physical bodies. Such instances include water cancelling out sand, rubber cancelling out lightning, and magma cancelling out fire. In order to generate their substance, a Logia user must first transform part of their body into the substance, which then multiplies as they please. This differs from substance-generating 𝚲𝚙𝚎𝚑 users, most of whom can generate substance directly from their physical body or even from thin air. As long as the reproducing substance is attached to the user's body, it is considered part of their body, though it appears that it is no longer the case once that user splits it off. If they encounter their substance in nature, a Logia user can merge with it, and the natural substance will become part of their body as well. So if, for example, if Fire Fist Ace, who has eaten the Flare fruit, a Fire Logia, if he were to walk into a wildfire, he would be able to take and control all of that fire. If Akainu, the Magma fruit user, were to walk into a volcano or something like that, where there was a excess of magma, he would be able to use and control that. The Snow fruit user can control storms, so when she lives on a winter island, that is very helpful for her. Caesar Clown's gas fruit, he can control the air around him. He can suck all of the oxygen out of the air and suffocate you. The Logia users can do a lot with their element if it is around them, making them very, very dangerous and very, very strong in certain scenarios. Well, even more dangerous than they already are if put in scenarios and situations and locations that enhance their Devil Fruit abilities. Now, the dark fruit is unlike every other Logia fruit seen so far. This is the exception. Its darkness transformation is not founded in a naturally occurring element, but rather takes the form of a fiery black smoke and most closely resembles the immense gravitational forces of a black hole that pulls in everything, including light. Rather than turning the user's body intangible, the darkness instead amplifies the power of outside strikes, which affects the user's body even more. In exchange, however, the user is granted the supernatural ability of being able to cancel out the devil fruit of any opponent they touch. Alright, and just like in the other videos, I am going to go over the users of Logia type devil fruits. Feel free to pause and go through it at your own time. We have Smoker, who uses the Smoke fruit. Crocodile, who uses Sand fruit. Enel is the Rumble fruit, which is lightning. Kuzan is ice. Martial DT is darkness, which we discussed earlier. The Yami no Mi, or the dark fruit, which is a special Logia. Borsalino is the glint fruit. He is made out of light. Sakazuki, also known as Akainu, is the magma fruit user. Caribou is the swamp fruit user, or bog, I think, in certain translations. Caesar Clown is gas. Sabo is the new user of the flare fruit. Aramaki, also known as Green Bull, one of the new admirals post time skip, uses the wood fruit. He is a forest wood Logia type user, which is very interesting. Our deceased users are Portgas the Ace of the flare fruit, and Monet, who used the snow fruit, who died during the it's the arc right before Dressrosa, and I can never remember it, even though it's a very important arc. We'll get back to that. I'll remember it eventually. And then we have some non-canon users, Honey Queen, Simon, and Gaspard. However, I do not know what Logia type fruits they have because they are non-canon and I don't pay attention to them specifically. So yeah. Alright, now we're going to go over strengths of Logia type fruits. So, Logias are considered the most powerful type of devil fruit, with the most powerful Paramecia fruit, the Guru no Mi, being compared to a Logia in terms of power. That would be the Tremor fruit used by Whitebeard, now used by Martial D. With Logias granting the ability to transform into forces of nature and seemingly generate infinite amounts of it, just about every Logia has unfathomable offensive capabilities resembling a concentrated natural disaster. Fire and magma transformations can instantly burn opponents. Lightning can electrocute opponents. It also grants extreme speed because lightning is very quick. And light can blind opponents and pierce through them like lasers. The gas fruit can create a large variety of gases, many of which are poisonous or explosive, or can cause instant death. It is also capable of removing oxygen from the... Oh. My cat's sitting on my lap and he just bit me. Sorry about that. So yeah, it is also capable of removing oxygen from the air, like I stated earlier. The user of the 𝙲𝚙𝚙𝚢𝚛𝚒𝚐𝚑𝚝 the ice fruit, also known as 𝚬𝚙𝚙𝚡, I don't like that name, can instantly freeze people, while the 𝑦uki no Mi give people hypothermia by surrounding them in snow. People who can get caught in the swamp made by the Numa no Mi, or swamp fruit, trapped in it. We see this when Caribou literally kidnaps mermaids by sucking them into his bottomless swamp. They do not die, you do not choke to death or suffocate. However, they are seen coughing up bits of swamp when they are removed from his body. So I'm not quite sure how that works. And the darkness of the dark fruit can pull in any object and reduce it to smithereens, and then expel it in a big explosion. Now, in addition to their potency against opponents, the elements that Logia users transform into can also have some significant effects on their surrounding environment, from the land and water around them to even the climate. This was notably seen on Punk Hazard. That's the name of the arc and island. Oh, knew it was gonna come to me. Also in my script, but I knew it was gonna come to me eventually. So yeah, on Punk Hazard, where a 10-day battle between Akainu and Aokiji, the magma fruit user, and the ice fruit user had their fight, which caused half of the island to become a hot and fiery land and the other half to become a cold and snowy land. Additionally, Crocodile was able to use sand fruit to create a massive sandstorm in the desert country of 𝙲𝚘𝚙𝚒𝚝, and 𝙲𝚘𝚙𝚒 can travel across the ocean by freezing it. He does so on a bike. Very cool, and I think very overpowered. I don't know if he falls into the water, if he can freeze it with his touch. I know he can freeze water, but I don't know if he can freeze it as he's falling into it. If he can, it's one of the most broken Devil Fruit abilities out there, because then he can't drown. He can freeze the water he lands on, and he doesn't go underwater, which would be broken. Anyways, the ability of Logia users to merge with their element means that certain locations make a particular Logia user stronger, such as the desert for the 𝚬𝚙𝚎𝚑𝚝 fruit user, and the gaseous environment for the gas fruit. If a Logia user is given enough time, their attacks can impact even or areas on an unprecedented scale. Thus, most Logia type users are capable of unleashing powerful and large-scale attacks rivaled by few. Notable example of the Logia user's mass destruction capabilities include Blackbeard pulling an entire town inside of him with the Dark Fruit, as well as Enel completely obliterating Angel Island, planning to obliterate all of Skypiea with the Rumble Fruit. Defensively, the intangibility of Logia users transform difficult, if not impossible, to harm, let alone defeat. Unless one has learned Armament Hockey, a skill which is not common outside of the world, or has managed to acquire an element to cancel out a Logia user power, the only real chance at injuring a Logia user is to take them by surprise and attack them before they transform, a tactic that the majority of Logia users can easily deal with. The 𝚬𝚙𝚎𝚑𝚝 guards of Alabasta, who had no knowledge of Armament Hockey, were at a loss for how to injure Crocodile, with the only option they could think of being the consumption of hero water to grow physically stronger, which in no way impacted his ability. On Skypiea, Enel was able to toy with Kamakiri for 5 minutes by doing nothing but sitting and transforming to render the warrior's constant attacks useless. Fully transforming their body into an element gives Logia users several advantages, one of those being the ability to disguise themselves by becoming part of their environment. Additionally, fully transformed users are capable of freely manipulating their body shape at will. Skilled users can utilize this ability to morph their elemental bodies out of the way of attacks that would physically damage them, to the point of even forming full-fledged holes in their body, as shown by 𝚲𝚙𝚒𝚑 and Monet. 𝙲𝚘𝚙𝚑𝚡, whose fruit is classified as a Paramecia but has the same abilities as a Logia, has perfected the skill with his observation hockey to foresee opponents' attacks and transform parts of his body into mochi to shift out of the way accordingly. Used quite brilliantly, in my opinion, and makes him one of the hardest opponents to fight in the entire series. Now, additionally, Logia users can use their element to aid their physical bodies, such as when Enel used his lightning to jumpstart his stopped heart. Users who transform into elements that are lighter than air are capable of flight by transforming the lower half of their body. Logia users have also used their abilities to power machines and objects with their elements. This was seen with Smoker using smoke to power his Billower bike, which is essentially a motorbike powered by smoke. Ace using fire to power his Striker Raft, which is essentially a windsurfing kite. Enel using lightning to power the Arc Maxim, and Caesar Clown feeding gas into a sword hilt to create a flaming sword. Alright guys, now let's get on into Logia type Devil Fruit's weaknesses. Now, the power of Logia fruits can give many untrained users the impressions that they are invincible in battle, but that is not the case, especially in dangerous areas like the New World that are full of experienced fighters who know a lot about Devil Fruit abilities. The most common way to bypass Logia protections is by using Armament Hockey. Hockey does not prevent Logia transforming or completely deactivate the transformation. Rather, once a Hockey-imbued object makes contact with the transformed body, the body part that is struck reverts back to its solid form. Thus, a Logia user that is hit with the Hockey back in their transformed state will be harmed as if they had not transformed. Being in a transformed state may cause the user to expand and occupy a larger surface area than their normal body would, allowing Hockey-wielding opponents to strike and injure them with. Additionally, Logia users may lose their intangible. Their bodies come into contact with an element that has a special reaction with their element. When struck by said element, they are affected in the same way as when they are hit by Armament Hockey. For example, the 𝚬𝚙𝚎𝚑𝚝 fruit comes into contact with water, the sand will stick together or harden, thus forcing the user into a state. Another example is when two Logia users clash and one element is naturally other, as when Sakazuki used his magma to fire body. Alternatively, two Logia elements make stalemate upon clashing, such as fire and smoke. Other examples of elements being used to Logia's power were when Monkey D bypassed Crocodile's sand by coating his body with water and then later blood, as well as when Luffy bypassed Enel's lightning with just his body due to being made of rubber. Logia users may still be able to outlast and overpower opponents who bypass their intelligent use of their ability, like for example, Crocodile used his dehydrating powers to directly absorb the water attacks, or Aramaki turning his wooden body fireproof. And they may also use Haki to protect themselves as well. Nonetheless, being able to bypass intangibility significantly improves the person's chances of fighting Logia users, and they may be able to take the Logia user off guard, especially if the user is overconfident in their ability. See this when Pekoms absolutely wipes the floor with Caribou. Caribou being a Logia type user, he thought he was invincible low-key, and then Pekoms came and one-punched him into unexistence, saying that Logia users who are arrogant don't have long survival time. Now, it is possible to trap a transformed Logia user in an enclosed space, especially if their element is solid and rendered difficult to impossible for them to escape. This was seen when the Straw Hat Pirates caught Caribou inside a barrel and bolted it shut, preventing him from escaping until someone else opened it later. Luffy attempted to Crocodile by eating his transformed head and torso, which did disrupt the Warlord, although he was able to quickly burst out. Users with solid and rigid elemental transformations, such as ice, are slower to reform when their elemental bodies are attacked and damaged. A Logia user may be unable to effectively perform and utilize their transformation if they are overwhelmed by an emotion such as fear. This was seen with Monet, who was gripped with fear after Zoro bisected her without Haki and was unable to reform her body for a brief time due to being scared for her life. Alright guys, I'm gonna end this video off with some trivia on Logia users. I just thought the trivia was interesting, so I thought I would share it with you guys. Now, every canon Logia comes from a natural element, while filler Logia come from man-made substances. Except for Enel, every canon Logia user revealed before the time skip was present during the Summit War of Marineford. The word Logia is a Greek word from New Testament scholarship that translates roughly as sayings, utterances, or oracles. It is surmised that given the kanji, this type of devil fruit is meant to represent an element of nature speaking with force, always with destructive capacity. Another fun fact, Treble utilizes his paramecia ability, the mucus fruit, to create a thick coat of mucus over his slim and frail body to trick his opponents into thinking he has a Logia ability, even though he doesn't and is actually pretty weak. Not a fan of him. In the magazine release of chapter 860, the Mochi Mochi no Mi was stated to be a Logia, but this has been changed in the volume release into a special paramecia. Katakuri was originally meant to have the powers of Kano Kano no Mi, a Logia devil fruit that allowed him to flower. Now, the Marines hold the largest number of Logia fruit users in a single organization, with 4 users. Formerly 4 before Kuzan quit, and then 4 again after Aramaki joined their rank. Despite Vegapunk's best efforts, Logia fruit is the only class of devil fruit he has failed to artificially replicate due to their complexity. Thus far, Logia is the only devil fruit category with no single awakened devil fruit users. Alright guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me during this video. It means the world to me every single time you guys do. If you guys could like, share, subscribe, ring the bell, it would mean the world to me as a small YouTuber trying to make a name for himself. I hope you guys have an amazing New Year's. I love you, and as always, I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.